You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
Hello and welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. I'm Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
Danny, you're wearing your How I Met Your Monster t-shirt.
I sure as shit am.
From TeePublic.
Mm-hmm. Which you can order on teepublic.com. Link in the show notes.
Wow. That's so amazing. I didn't know you could get t-shirts for this show.
I'm doing like promo for our show, but it's a visual on a podcast.
Yeah,
so we need to like talk about the visual I bring on.
That's okay.
Speaking of talking about visuals, we're going to talk about a movie today. We're going to talk about Cujo.
Cujo.
Starring Dee Wallace and Tad.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Daniel something.
Danny Pintaro.
Okay.
Danny Pintaro.
He's fucking good.
Yeah, they were all really good
in
this movie. I think that's honestly what saved it for me.
Oh boy,
really?
We're going to open up that a little bit later.
I didn't dislike it necessarily, but I watched a lot of good movies the last couple of weeks. So.
And Cujo was not on that list?
Cujo was the middle of the road as far as these movies that I watched.
Okay.
So.
All right. And this is your first time watching?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Danny, you have read the book.
Yeah, I actually read it fairly recently. We were talking about a movie we should do that was like kind of summery. And I was like, oh, the Coogemeister. You know, it's like it's a hot, sunny day. What's funny is in the book, and I'm sure we'll do some like back and forths and comparisons.
The book takes place in winter and it's a cat.
Yeah. And his name is Juco.
Juco. Danny Juco?
Yeah, it's a prequel to Grease.
I mean, when they sing Grease Lightning, they are on top of a car.
Exactly.
That's true.
And if you play close attention, he starts off that song, that musical number, as a cat, and then he transforms through the powers of Grease Lightning into John Travolta. It's funny, though, we were talking about it like being in summer and it being like a hot movie. That's the one thing that stood out to me with this movie was they don't really emphasize that it takes place on, well, summer, first of all, but also like on an unparalleled heat wave, which is like a huge focal point in the book. Which,
the only way that you know is that this woman's upper lip is very sweaty in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kid's like dying of heat exhaustion too.
But they're in a car with the windows closed, so.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I could have sworn I remember that being like a big focal point of the movie, but it's not. So.
Did you guys watch the Dog Days? I watched the Dog Days making of Cujo too.
I didn't.
No, I did not know that was a thing.
Where did you find that?
It's on YouTube.
Nice.
It was actually like 40 degrees when they filmed this movie.
Oh,
man.
So they were actually too cold in the car.
Yeah, because they must have, had to have gotten sprayed with like the fake sweat.
Putting like glycerin on their face and stuff like that. And Dee Wallace said that it was like a huge pain in the ass because they were on a farm, so there were flies everywhere, and she was covered in glycerin and Cairo syrup from the blood, and it was really disgusting. And they were really cold, and they like weren't wearing any clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's funny. I've always heard stories about like making of horror movies, like especially with Scream, and they always mention how they're like covered in like what do they call it? Cairo syrup.
Cairo syrup, yeah. Cairo syrup.
And that their clothes were just disgusting, and that they would have to reapply it every day. But I would always think like, oh, to be on that set covered in fake blood sounds so fun. But of course, like that's coming from like me who has never had to actually do that while working. But yeah.
Tomorrow when you're writing new pages, you just need to cover yourself in Caro syrup.
Yeah, there you go.
I like to relate to the actors when I'm writing.
Yeah, just your office covered in fake blood.
If I can't go through one of the plights that I'm going to put my characters through, then it's not going in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there you go. So anything, if there's, for some reason, if you're writing about a car chase, you need to get into a car chase.
Exactly.
But you'll have to steal a car first because you don't have a car. So that makes it more exciting.
Exactly.
Actually.
And I'll hopefully never have to write a Final Destination movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be...
That's terrifying.
That'd be rough. Well, let's get into Cujo in a minute. First of all, as always, I want to hear about what you've watched. Casey, you seem to be busting at the seams with new movie information.
I'm very excited.
Tell us what you got.
Okay, so first of all, I watched Get Out again. Just because, right? I've watched this movie probably at least 5 times already.
Okay.
There is still stuff that I'm noticing. New things every time. It's just so good.
It took me a long time, maybe like on my 3rd viewing of that movie, when I made the connection to the deer on the side of the road and his mom being dying on the side of the road, where he just like left. It like didn't connect until like the 3rd time I saw that. And I was like, duh.
Yeah, there were still little things like they couldn't go in the basement because there was black mold, and that's where they do all of their procedures. Like just dumb little things like that I hadn't noticed before that I noticed this time.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. I also rewatched Paranormal Activity, the first one.
Okay.
And it's been a while. So I was up in Erie for Brooke's birthday. And her boyfriend likes horror movies, but he's like me. It takes a lot to actually scare him. He doesn't really get creeped out. So he's talking to me. He's like, I want to watch something that actually like freaks me out. You know, what can we watch? And I was like, there's really not a whole lot that freaks me out either. The only thing that ever really freaked me out was Paranormal Activity. And he said, I've never seen it. And I said, well, then let's watch it. And it does freak me out because I think it's just the realist. I mean, especially because it's a found footage type of movie. Mm-hmm. And there's just little things that happen. You know what I mean? Things that if you were in that situation, that's the most realistic that it would be.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So he told me that he had nightmares. So that was good.
Oh, success.
Amazing. Yes. Big success. I watched Mad God.
Oh, okay.
But I saw it. So Pittsburgh Cultural Trust has a little theater downtown where they just show random movies. So they actually showed it in a theater over the weekend.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I went and saw that. It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's really good, but obvious. I mean, a lot of it was very, very hard to understand, but especially because of all the visuals in it, there's so much going on. There's way too much.
Wait, why was it hard to understand? Like the story or?
There's no dialogue.
Oh.
Yeah. There's no like English dialogue. There's some gibberish here and there and stuff like that. So it was just purely visuals, but there's also a lot going on at once. And it was just hard to understand. There's one thing that was very obvious. So then you can kind of start to connect the dots as to what other things possibly could mean. Mm-hmm. But it was good. Yeah. I watched Crimes of the Future.
Right.
No, really?
It was fine.
Was it nasty? No.
No, there's nothing in it that's like gross. I was so disappointed.
So what is the concept? It's like
people are using surgery as performance art.
Okay. But was there something to do with like they don't feel it or something like that? Or am I?
Yeah, because kind of people are evolving and a lot of people don't feel pain anymore. So people want to feel pain. And people that don't feel pain, and people are growing new organs because we're evolving and all this kind of stuff. And it was a fine movie. It's middle of the road as far as a David Cronenberg movie goes. It was fine. Mm-hmm. It just was not everything that I was promised.
Okay.
Okay. Huh. I'm curious though, because of your tolerance.
I know, because I'm desensitized
for disgusting things. Yeah.
No, even Matt, who gets grossed out, there was only one part that he like retched at, and the rest of it, he was just like, I don't understand. I don't understand either.
Okay. I'm so excited to watch it, but I'm also terrified.
There was a part So I watched that before I saw Mad God, and there was a part in Mad God that I was like, this is what Crimes of the Future was supposed to be.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And then I watched Nope.
Okay. I have yet to see it.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Yeah. Did you see it, Danny?
I
oh,
did.
yeah, you did see it, Danny.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great. Obviously can't say very much.
Yeah.
It was good.
Still pretty new. Yep.
It was good.
I saw it. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I saw on Twitter some people weren't like the biggest fans of it, and they were, maybe don't tweet that you don't like a movie, but that, to each their own. But they were just saying that they weren't huge fans of it, and it was kind of frustrating because a lot of people in the comments were like, "Oh, you clearly just didn't get it." And the people who were saying that would like point things out, like, this is what it's really about. And I'm reading the comments like, no, I think that's pretty clear. I don't think it's that these people didn't get it.
Yeah, you can still not like the movie.
Yeah. But on the same side, like, I walked out of it, really just digesting the movie. I was like, oh, that was fun. There were things that I like, like any movie. It's just like, you process, it takes a little while to process some of it. But I will say that, like, since then I have been kind of reading up on like other people's interpretations of like little symbol, like you were saying about Get Out, how you keep noticing something. I think that's Jordan Peele's like, it's like the gift that keeps on giving with his movies.
Yeah.
He's just really good at these like little like micro like precision like little details. And it did help me kind of appreciate some of the things that I didn't necessarily love about Nope. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
2 thumbs up.
Okay. Cool.
I've
Casey,
got one more.
Oh shit.
What else you got?
Okay, this one is on the top of my list. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Okay.
The movie Men.
Oh, okay. Is that Alex Garland?
I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It's fucking great.
Okay.
I loved it. When I was watching it, I loved it. I loved it when it was over. And then when I was thinking about it, like, I just love it even more. The more that I think about it. It's like...
Oh, I'm so jealous. I wanted to watch it so bad in theaters and I missed it.
The performances in it are fucking amazing. It was just so fucking weird. So
Okay.
cool.
All right.
Yeah. And the end was like so unexpected.
Oh, that's
And
the thing.
just-
That's what I keep hearing about is that the finale, the third act is just like batshit.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
Oh, fun.
It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. I'm sorry, guys. That's all I have.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
that's all you have.
Casey,
all I did.
you are
That's all I
like
watched.
making up for last week when I don't think you had any. So this is
I
perfect.
didn't. Yeah.
Danny, what about you?
I also saw Nope. Fun little Jordan Peele
Fun little ditty.
epic horror movie. Jimmy and I are still going through our Amityville horror rewatch.
Okay. Where are you at?
Wow.
So, okay, really quickly. We had originally had a whole plan for how we were going to do these movies. We were going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 remake.
So, the order that they go in.
Yeah.
Very
and
good.
then the
Very good.
most recent 2. But then we got to part 4, which we were like, oh, this feels so different. Now, okay, I'm going to spoil. Okay, I won't really spoil it, but I'll spoil part 3 in that it seems implausible that one would simply return to the Amityville house. So I'll just say that. And it felt a little different. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, this was a made for TV movie. 100% feels like it. It was fun for what it was, but it's bloodless. It's scareless. It's just.
Is that
TV
the one in the house with like the 5, like older? I don't know, say older, but like they're like adults and they're just like.
Well, it's the one. There are some older characters. It's the one that starts off. They're doing an estate sale, which I read is a running, I guess, story thing within the next 3 movies.
Is that the lamp one?
Yes.
That one was fucking stupid.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I
You
don't
heard
wanna-
it here, folks.
Yeah. It was. I think it was Amityville: The Evil Escapes.
I know that like we don't like to go too hard on movies on this show, but having seen a handful of those Amityville movies, that one was on the very bottom of my list.
Guys, there's literally a scene where like the grandmother is just like making a pie. One of the younger characters comes in. She turns to the character, says, "Hey, can you clean this mess up? I need to take a nap before dinner." And she goes, "Sure." And she just proceeds to clean up. And I'm like, what is happening? Why? What's happening? Why am I watching this? Yeah. So that kind of turned us off a little bit. And Jimmy and I, we try really hard to be, even if a franchise is not our favorite, we're like, gotta just like stick through it.
Yeah, but you've still got like 6 more movies.
Exactly. There's so many movies, tough. And there's, and, you know, we pay for we rent them. It's like, it costs money. So we were reading into it and I was like, okay, the next 3 movies that follow part 4 are all direct to video. And now, mind you, most movies these days are, but whatever. This is we have our own rationalization for it and we're standing by it. But we're like, okay, the next 3 are all, they not only are they direct to video, they all supposedly, from what I've read, follow the sort of story from part 4. So there's like the whole like estate sale idea. I could be completely wrong.
So is it that people have gotten haunted items from this Amityville estate sale?
So it's just their way of kind of continuing the story wherever they want, I guess.
Right, and not having to go back to the house.
Because in this one, she buys a lamp and like ships it to California.
Okay.
And so it's not even in like the New York Amityville area.
Opposite side of the country. I will say it has the best ending ever and it makes no sense. So like by the end of the movie, they end up like throwing the lamp like out the window, and apparently they live on like a cliff. It's so wild. And it like falls down the edge of the cliff into the ocean. And the end of the movie, they're like, "Where's our cat?" And they're like, Where is he? And we go down and we see the lamp at the bottom of the cliff, and we see the cat walking by the lamp. And like all of a sudden the cat just turns and looks at the camera and its eyes like turn red, but like really like stupid, like just.
So
it's
how
like
on earth is the cat?
I don't know. It's so dumb.
I feel like that would be if the first one was just Amityville, right? And then that were like the sequel, if it were done right, that could be cool. But since there's, so many movies.
Yeah.
What did you think? Okay, we're going to talk about Amityville for just a little bit longer.
Please. I'm in it.
What did you think of Amityville 2, The Possession?
Amityville 2 is one of the craziest movies I've ever seen in my life.
I really liked it.
It's fun. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. There is like, I don't even know, incest, murder. The incest. Jimmy and I wish someone was recording us watching it, because I was like, is that a sister? And he's like, I don't think so. No, that's not a sister. I was like, no. What's he doing?
Really happening?
What did he do? Wait, what's he doing? Oh my God, what is happening? It just kept escalating. And then like halfway through, like, spoiler alert, but like everyone basically dies and it becomes a different movie. I'm like, what is happening? It's and
there's some really
crazy.
There's some really good effects in it too. Like the way like he get like his face, he gets like
those
like
the effects,
bulging things on his face, and it was really well done.
Well, that's the thing. This may have been like my 3rd time watching the original Amityville. It's a slower burn than I remember, and I kind of chalk it up to it. It feels very much like a post-Exorcist movie, where like The Exorcist is like prestige, quote unquote, prestige horror, if you want to call it that, where it's sort of like, you know, people take it seriously. It was nominated for some Oscars, etc. And then you have like The Omen that sort of follows a very similar mold, where it's like it involves the church. It's serious. It's kind of scary, but don't worry, it's not too. But then it is. And then Amityville is like part of that trilogy where it's. But I would say Amityville maybe is the least successful in being like a straight up scary movie, although it does have, I guess, its reputation to sort of help it.
I know I've told you this before, but I think a perfect Amityville movie would be if you took the first half of the original and the second half of the remake and put them together. 100%. I think that it would be like perfect.
They did a good job with the remake. I think it's really fun. So far, I would say my favorite of the movies is part 3, which I heard from a lot of people is their least favorite Amityville horror movie.
Okay.
Like Meg Ryan, Lori Loughlin. This is the second time I've done this, right?
Lori
I couldn't
Loughlin.
pronounce someone. Loughlin?
Loughlin.
Loughlin. Okay. Good Lord. I was like picturing Sarah McLachlan. So I was like, Lachlan. What?
Close.
Yeah. That one's fun because it kind of leans into the whole, it's just it feels like a fun house more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not taking itself seriously. But that's the thing with all these movies. They all shift tones either halfway through or by like the third act. You're like, oh God, okay, you're the main character now. Okay, great.
So do you know do you have a list of them? Do you know which one comes next?
So now we just watched the remake because we skipped 5, 6, and 7.
Why?
I know. We may
Because
go
they're
back.
straight to video.
We may go back because they just released them all on Shudder. So they literally yesterday I texted Jamie. I was like, they're on Shudder. Do we watch them?
The remake has Ryan Reynolds in it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yes.
Yeah. Tonight we're watching Blumhouse apparently did an Amityville movie. So we're going to do that one. And then it's like the Amityville murders. And then we're going to call it a day on Amityville.
Okay.
Maybe we're going to watch 5, 6, and 7.
Zach
I just did
he's got a salesman cap on.
Skip Amityville 5. Just that's fine.
Okay.
That's the Amityville curse. Just forget about that one.
Sure.
Watch Amityville 6. It's called it's about time is what
Good
it's
time.
called.
Oh, okay, good.
Amityville,
Sounds promising.
It's about time.
I wonder what it's about.
It's about time.
Yeah.
And then watch Amityville Dollhouse.
Okay.
Watch those two. It's about time and Dollhouse.
Okay.
Danny, are you taking notes?
I'm taking mental notes. This franchise has destroyed me. Like the math. I never thought I would need. I regret the times that I told my math teacher, like, I'm never going to need this. I would, and it'd be for this franchise. This has been interesting. We did. It's tough because it's, public domain, the name Amityville. So anyone can just slap it onto their movie, which made it so hard to, like they just came out with Amityville in space. I'm like, I don't think I'll ever watch that.
Did they really?
Yeah.
It went from like this cool idea because it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To like in space.
I want like a meeting of all these. I want like Leprechaun meets Critters meets Jason meets Pinhead meets some
space.
Amityville thing in space.
Yeah.
Well, already, you could easily do something with easily. You have the Amityville house in space for some reason, which could kind of double as the house.
The
from
Airbnb.
The first.
Oh. I thought I meant where they're all staying.
Oh, I see. No, I was going to say.
I was thinking more of like a sitcom,
Three's Company, but meets Friday the 13th. No, but like the house in the first Hellraiser where the body is reborn. So that's how you bring Hellraiser in. And then maybe Leprechaun.
The critters are already from space. And so.
So they get it moving.
Yeah.
Then you could do something with like the Leprechaun making a wish and Hellraiser kind of giving you like, there's something there. You could like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where Jason fits in.
He
doesn't really fit in anywhere in any of his movies either.
Stumbles in.
They just kind of throw him somewhere.
He's like, how you doing? Just passing by.
I didn't watch any horror content, I don't think.
Great.
It's been 3 weeks.
Been a busy few weeks.
It's been 4 years.
But I did show Samuel Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones, because that's the only one we haven't watched.
When was the last time you watched Crystal Skull?
When it came out, we were in college.
Yeah.
And I probably saw it in the movie theater like 5 times.
Wow. Oh, so you
in
like
the theater? Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. It was just an Indiana Jones movie.
Exactly. It was just an Indiana Jones movie. And so I may have seen it once in between college and now, like somewhere.
But still a total of 6 times.
Yes. And then this would have been like the 7th time. It's not, let's not talk about it.
Well, okay. Now I wish I didn't ask because there's part of me I was thinking of it recently and I was like, I wonder if I sat down and watched it again, if it'd
be good.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Oh. Don't do it. Somehow the the vine swinging through the jungle got worse over time. I don't know how that. I didn't expect that to happen.
There are things I remember enjoying about that movie.
There are elements that are good and fun, but
like I enjoyed the opening. I could even look past. I remember people saying that the gopher scene was annoying, like when it pops up. That aside, I remember even just the energy of the movie. I really liked how it opens up with this sort of that very classic, which is a great nod, to be like we're in the 50s, like this drag race with these kids in the desert. But, like I said, it's been quite a while since I've seen it. So who the hell am I to say?
Well, enough about Indiana Jones. Let's talk about rabid St. Bernards.
They named the dog Cujo.
You were named after the dog? Are you guys ready to meet our monster?
Let's freaking meet him. He's a good boy.
Danny can probably speak more to this than I can, but in the book, there is a bit at the end where Stephen King goes on to say that Cujo was a good dog and everything that happened was beyond his control. It was out of his control.
Yeah.
He was a reincarnated bad guy from some other book, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. What book was that?
Which, The Dead Zone, which I always thought was kind of implied, but then when I read it, so just to give some context, so in the Dead Zone, which we actually covered, so you can listen to that episode, in one of the sort of vignettes, the moments that Christopher Walken's character is kind of thrust into with his like new gift where he has like foresight and everything. One is trying to solve a series of killings in the town. I think it was in Castle Rock, right?
Yes.
Or was it not? Okay. They end up finding out who the killer is, and I won't spoil who it is, although I guess I will. Whatever. I'm going to spoil who it is. So just don't listen for a second. So the killer ends up being a police officer named Frank Dodd, who incidentally was partners with Bannerman, who is played by Tom Skerritt in that movie, but is played by someone completely different in this one and has like a 2-second long scene and then dies, which is just so sad.
Oh.
It's just so disappointing. Yeah,
that was
same
supposed to be
character.
the same person. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is they don't reference any of that, which is one of the most frustrating things about this movie. I love this movie, just to be clear, but the idea is that this killer Frank Dodd, who ended up taking his own life before he was caught, or at least to avoid being caught, his ghost or his memory just kind of haunts this town. And in the beginning of the movie, when Tad is kind of freaked out about the quote unquote monster in the closet, he actually is afraid of the spirit of Frank Dodd, who's literally in his closet haunting him.
Okay.
We don't really get any of those specifics, but that's kind of the idea. And then to kind of answer your question about like his connection with Cujo is supposed to get rabies when he gets bitten by a supposedly rabid bat. And he does display all like the he displays all the characteristics of a rabid animal, but that is kind of like hiding the fact that he's actually has like the spirit of this dead serial killer in him that is just like wants to kill, which is why I think even Cujo sort of behaves like a serial killer in some cases. Like when the cop shows up and he like goes off and hides, like there's a lot of like deliberate kind of mapping out of like how he kills in this movie and in the book, especially.
So does he still get rabies in the book?
He does. Yeah. Like all of that happens, but it's sort of, it walks the line of like, well, you decide. What do you think? Is it the ghost or is it the rabies?
That's making him do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
So being it the first time that I watched this movie and not having read the book, it would have been really stupid, in my opinion, for them to try and make it seem like it was the ghost of somebody else.
Well, I think if they squeezed it into like an hour and a half, I agree.
Yeah. When they were making this movie, they went back and forth on directors a couple of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had gone with different companies, like Warner Brother picked it up and something else picked it up, and then those fell through, and then so they were finally able to ask the person that they wanted to direct it, who's the man who ultimately ended up directing it. He said there were changes put in place that were already made that he couldn't really do anything about. He ultimately decided not to go with that because he thought that with the stuff that they had already put in place and the means that they had at that time, that it would have been like really corny and hokey if they would have tried to do something like that.
Well, what's also funny to that point is, and I'm sure this is purely coincidence, but it just made me think, there's a scene earlier on when they're at the dinner table, and Tad is kind of he's pretending his hand is like the fin from Jaws. And I like made a stupid note where I was like, Cujo is the Jaws of the junkyard kind of thing. And then I was like, I wonder if that's actually why they removed all the supernatural elements. If they were sort of kind of capitalizing on the success of Jaws, like, we don't need the supernatural, like, don't complicate it. Let's just stick to like, it's a real creature. This thing can kill you.
Right.
Because that's all Jaws is. Yeah. Like, simplify it.
Yeah. Instead of being stuck in the middle of the ocean, you're stuck in a car.
Yeah. Basic same idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is great. I love the fact that it's rabies and not the spirit of somebody.
Yeah.
And well, that's the thing.
But I'm sure the book, obviously the book being written and being longer. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot more that could have been done.
Because it's nothing's really, Stephen King can be pretty blatant with his horror. But like it's very nuanced. It's very, it's all suggestion. It's all like, I'm giving you all of the ingredients and you tell me if it's actually in the final product or if it's this other thing that like looks very similar. If it barks like a dog and it looks like a dog, is it Frank Dodd?
It's a cat.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with the both of you, because I kind of was watching it wondering, having just read it, it was so fresh in my mind. I'm like, I was missing that, because I love a ghost story. I love monster in the closet stuff. It's just like very textbook, old school, classic horror, like supernatural horror. But you guys make a good point that like in this medium and the way they told the story, I think maybe this was better.
Well, I wonder, because Casey had mentioned that it had gone through a few directors before settling on Louis Teague, I think his name is. But I read that Peter Medak was attached, who directed The Changeling, which is like the numero uno ghost story of all time. And so I wonder if he had stayed on board, if there would have been some of that supernatural element in.
Oh, he would have been so good. Because even in The Changeling, even though it is like you said, like it's like the classic like pinnacle of haunted house movies, that the way he does it though works. And the fact that like the way the movie ends up basically playing out, like it's a ghost story, but because of this like non-supernatural mystery, I think could have been a great kind of, to juxtapose like those two elements in like an hour 30. Damn it. Yeah. Oh, that would have been so exciting. What could have been?
Now Danny doesn't agree anymore.
No, I don't agree anymore.
He takes it back.
I actually did when I was watching. I was like, oh, who is this director? I like what he's doing here. Like, I feel like for the most part, really, aside from like all the supernatural stuff, like I was like, oh, he gets it. Like he clearly likes the book. It felt like the book. Obviously there's like some changes and stuff, which is just inevitable. But I was like, oh, it didn't feel like a cynical adaptation of like a Stephen King novel or trying to elevate it, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I kind of had forgotten about that whole Frank Dodd thing, and so I think it's a good movie. I think it's fun. It's scary. It's more intense. And this might be kind of silly. I remember the movie being intense, but ever since Samuel has been in my life for the past 3 years, it was much more intense watching it this time, especially with like Daniel's performance as Tad. So good.
Good.
And it just fucking breaks your heart when he's like you just want to help him. And like, oh man, the performances in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It
Dee
would be
Wallace,
sacrilegious to be like, he's better than Dee Wallace, because Dee Wallace is just
Yeah, she's
a
great.
goddess. She's wonderful. But they are on the same level, which is so impressive from this kid who, I'm assuming it's his first movie. They said introducing him. So
Yeah. It was also the dad's first movie too.
Really?
He had been in soap operas before.
I thought he was great too. Well, what's funny is because a lot of Stephen King books, okay, I don't want to criticize Stephen King, and I'm not going to. I love Stephen King.
Dare you?
But I would not be the first person to say that like they've called out some of his dialogue with some characters can feel, it's like, okay, that works as a book. But like if you were to adapt it, maybe tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit more naturalistic. And I thought they did a really good job. It was just something that pointed out were some of the phrases they said in this movie and some of the dialogue just worked. I was like, oh, okay.
Casey, you had brought up the dad, and now it is time for the How I Met Your Monster conspiracy theory of the week.
Oh my God, already? Hit it.
You're telling me that NASA is going to kill the President of the United States with an earthquake.
Not exactly the kind of thing a Secret Service agent can like just throw himself on top of.
The whole Vietnam War was fought over a bit. Howard Hughes lost to Aristotle Onassis.
This is our third issue this year. Conspiracy theory.
What's the dad's name?
Steve.
No, that's the guy she's cheating with.
No,
Yeah.
that's Vic.
No,
No.
Vic is the dad.
Really?
Oh
Yeah.
no, Danny. You watched the wrong movie.
You watched it backwards.
Oh, Vic Trenton is the dad.
Vic
Steve.
Trenton is the dad.
Yeah. But here's
Steve-
the thing.
what's his
but
first?
here's the conspiracy theory.
Oh my God.
I think Steve is really Tad's father.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh my God.
Just put those two next to each other and
Yeah.
then put Tad next to the curly, dark-haired Vic. It doesn't add up.
That's funny.
But it does add up if you put Tad next to Steve Kemp.
Oh, that's so
The friend
funny.
who seems like they've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vic and Steve play tennis and everything, and he just walks in the house. And he's always asking about Tad. Like he's always like,
How's my son? How's your son?
right?
Oh,
So,
that's interesting.
I think there's something else going on there.
Oh, that's a
Good.
good one. Yeah,
Hey, thanks.
I sign off on that. It's official.
Yeah. I ship that.
Vic is not the father.
We need like
Maury.
Maury. But speaking of Steve coming in the door and Dee Wallace's performance and all that, and the direction of this movie,
I'm agreeing with you already because I know what you're gonna say.
I want to hear what I'm going to say. Casey, tell me.
When they say Steve's name, her body language immediately changes.
Fuck.
And I knew I hadn't seen this movie before. I said, that woman is fucking Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
okay, you did know what I was going to say, but
Sorry.
I love like just the direction of that scene and everything where you don't even see her face. All you have to see is her, that like the tension in her shoulders, and you like know the whole story.
Yep.
Just right there.
Yep.
Fucking brilliant.
This is so good.
Guys, why isn't this is not a rhetorical question. Why is Dee Wallace not in more movies?
She's in a lot of movies.
But like, why isn't she?
She's been in a lot of movies. Movies
like-
that you haven't seen. I'm sorry.
Maybe that's what it is.
But I mean,
she should be like headlining everything.
yeah.
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 She's
really
literally so good. She's in A-list movies, like
Yeah.
as the lead, killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like putting out like subtle, but also bold, big. She has like this gentle like spirit about her, but she's also very fierce and
Yes.
Where did she kind of drop off in terms of big movies?
this is a great question. God,
I mean,
even
she's
she has
done
a little.
ton of movies.
She was in Rob
she's
Zombie's Halloween remake. Even in that,
That's
she
right.
fucking killed it.
That's right. So Critters. Shit, it was Critters.
Yeah,
that
just
did
look
in.
at her fucking
Was it?
IMDb. Was it Critters?
Well, she was. I think it was.
It's Critters that did her in. Well, she can come back for the film that we're talking about.
Cujo,
making
like a remake?
No, the one where they're all in space together. She can come back.
Oh yeah,
of course she should be back. I just don't understand, like, how are there not filmmakers out there who are like, oh, we need Dee Wallace for this? She'd be great.
Right.
Because of course she would.
Yeah, Dee Wallace, shout out to you for just being fucking awesome.
Yeah, if you're listening to the show, we love you.
She tunes in every week.
That's right.
It's a bi-weekly episode, but she tunes in every week. Every other week, she's like, I missed them.
She's got to catch up. She's got to catch up on past episodes.
There you go.
Yeah, so Cujo starts off the movie chasing rabbits. Just a sweet dog out to kill a fucking bunny.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He Winnie Poohs the shit out of that cave, right? He sticks his head in.
He does.
He gets stuck, whatever.
Yeah.
There's this whole fucking Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie coming out. Do you guys know about this?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because Winnie the Pooh is now in the public domain, the first thing they did, of course, is make a slasher movie. But it says in my notes, Cujo could be a cool take on Winnie the Pooh.
That doesn't make any sense.
Just shush, I'm bringing it back.
Wait, Tad is Christopher Robin.
But Winnie the Pooh is a bear.
Yeah, but it's like a dog interpretation of Winnie the Pooh.
But then it wouldn't be Winnie the Pooh.
Wait, but there's something there with Frank Dodd and like he's fantasy. And I'm trying to help. I don't know if I'm helping.
I wish I would have given more detail.
Well, there was a rabbit, which is rabbit.
Okay. And
bats kind of look like pigs. That could be piglet.
Oh, I was gonna say like, they do. Look
well, I don't
like
know
pigs.
if it was
I was
like
gonna say owl.
Yeah, they little.
If it was like Cujo, if Winnie the Pooh got his head stuck in a tree with honey and then a bat bit it, and then Winnie the Pooh got rabid.
Okay, sure. Bears can get rabies.
Oh man, I really wish I would know the answer to this.
Why? That was better than your original plan.
What was my original plan?
Well, I don't know. You said something about a dog instead of Winnie the Pooh, but that wouldn't make sense because then it wouldn't be Winnie the Pooh. But if Winnie the Pooh were to be bitten by a rabid bat and get rabies, and then he kills all of his friends in the 100-acre woods, yes, absolutely.
Well, maybe the bats that were rabid pooed, and then he got rabies from being around the poo.
Well, okay, so
like Winnie the Pooh.
It kind of goes into what I found out this Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is all about. Apparently, Christopher Robin goes off to college, and so he stops feeding them, right? And so they have to resort to like their natural instincts to like hunt. And so Winnie the Pooh and Piglet eat Eeyore.
Well, of course, he's not going anywhere,
Eeyore, you gotta fucking you're a donkey, run.
He doesn't care.
And then they go on like a rampage to like kill and eat, I guess.
Okay.
So
100% that movie's gonna end with like a post-credit or mid-credit sting with like a killer Tigger. And they're gonna set up the trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh, before we jump in, or now that we're still like kind of setting up Cujo, did you guys know the inspiration for Cujo from Stephen King?
I do.
Cocaine.
No.
A little bit of cocaine.
Surprisingly, he was driving on his motorcycle and he was having some issues. So his friend sent him to this farm in the middle of nowhere to get his motorcycle fixed. And he wondered, was he encountered by a dog there?
Yeah. So this dog, it was actually St. Bernard, and it kind of like sprung out at him and it was snarling.
Oh, so that's why he chose a St. Bernard too, because St. Bernards, I was wondering if it was just a choice because they're known for being so nice.
Yeah.
Like they're good dogs.
That's a great
and they're
point.
nanny dogs and they fucking rescue people and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if that was why, but I guess it's because
he could have been coloring his story a little bit to make it specific because that makes sense that he would go out of his way to pick a St. Bernard.
Yeah. Well, they also, when they were filming, like the animal trainer didn't want to use a St. Bernard because he's like, St. Bernards aren't trained this way. We don't have any St. Bernards that can do this kind of stuff. But they had like Dobermans and stuff. But the guy was like, no, it has to be a Saint Bernard.
Yeah, and that's funny that they would. I could see like in terms of, like you said, like in terms of like how to train the dog. But Saint Bernards are so big, and they ended up, they use someone in like literally a Saint Bernard costume in some shots.
Yeah,
that just seems so. As a filmmaker, it's like, oh, that's easy. They're huge.
What
an easy way to like fake that.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, and they used several different Saint Bernards and unfortunately you can tell because there are a couple of them that look a lot different than the other ones. In the parts where they're clean, like in the beginning before they start to get all dirty and stuff like that, you can tell.
Wait, he gets dirty in this movie? I thought he looked really cute.
A little bit. I actually felt very bad for the dogs.
I know
that they weren't necessarily mistreated, but like that's not comfortable
to have to put them. They don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it looked like they had pudding all over their face.
Yeah, it did. It was
tapioca pudding.
Disgusting. We talk about words that we don't like. Did we mention the word mucus last time?
No, but I love that word.
Casey. Casey. Watch your tongue.
Yeah, like on his eyes.
Ugh,
it looks like pudding. I know for like the slobber and stuff they used egg whites, but
that's disgusting.
Tad had said something about the monster in his closet having yellow eyes and like a mouth. And then later
curl in.
Yeah. And then later you see Cujo and he's got that.
Yeah.
I'll say stuff. He's got that stuff like leaking out of his eyes and it's kind of yellowish.
Yeah. Poor doggies.
Mm-hmm. But when he's like,
I was going to say, it looked like crud, like white crud. And then I thought of the black sheep, but he's like, would you fall in some mud or something? He's like, yeah, I'm going to be rich too, because I'm the first person to discover white mud. I didn't say mud. I said crud. Did you fall in some crud or something?
Oh, great movie.
Chris Farley, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
When he's like slowly turning, hit to something terrifying.
Yeah.
Like the main part of the movie doesn't start until like 50 minutes into the movie is when you get them going to the farm and being in the car. And all that other time, there's the whole story with, the cheating and the serial account that's all fucked up. And in that time, he's just getting slowly worse. And when we first really see Cujo as a monster, I would say it's when I think his name is Brett, the farm kid, goes out in the morning in all the fog and he's in the woods and Cujo comes up and he's just like, oh shit, this dog is dangerous. And then he kind of probably the last time he recognizes Brett and then he's like,
yes.
They did that so well from the book because, guys, when I say the book is so sad, every now and then we'll literally read from Cujo's perspective. So like, it's not like he's narrating it, but it's like, it almost is like he's narrating it. And he keeps doing things. And every time he growls, he gets so mad and ashamed of himself.
Oh.
And he's like, why? He's like, stop it. He's like, you're being bad. Like, you're being bad. Like, don't do that. And like, I thought they shot that perfectly in that moment where the second he's like, I'm Brett, like, what are you doing? Like, and you just see Cujo like cower because in the book, it would be, that was pure shame. He's like, that's not who I am. Like, why can't I control myself? And even like when he's attacking people, it's the same reaction that he would get like when the loud noises bother him. Where it's like, oh my God, it literally hurts to hear sounds right now. Like I need to destroy that thing because it's killing me. So like when someone is like talking to him, he's like, oh my God, like stop. But he also, it's literally like some of the saddest things I've ever read was when it's about Cujo, like knowing, like, it's not like he's taken over, but he's taken over. It's like someone who is getting surgery done on them, but they're still awake, but they're still under. It's so sad and so heartbreaking, especially since it's a dog. And then by the end of the at the end of the book, rather, like the last page, you kind of reference this, or you specifically referenced this earlier, where Stephen King like specifically points out like Cujo was a good boy and like things that happened to him were like not him. Like he points out like, this is not a bad dog. This is like things happen to this dog. He is a victim, which actually makes me think when we talk about like meeting our monster, that's why I like leaning into the whole Frank Dodd thing because like Frank Dodd is the monster in my eyes.
Yeah, because without him, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, like rabies, like that's just nature, like being a fucking bastard. But
well, we've spent like a half an hour talking about a dog, so we're just gonna go with that. We're just going with
it. Okay, deal. Oh, by the way, speaking of dogs, do you know who the voice is of Cujo? He has a voice in this movie. Yeah, it's Frank Welker, who is probably most famous for doing the voice of Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo. He's voiced him since the very beginning, like the very first season of Scooby-Doo. He also has voiced Scooby-Doo, so I love that the voice of Scooby-Doo does the voice of Cujo.
What did he do? Growl?
It must have been just like growls and stuff that like they couldn't articulate from or get out of the actual dogs.
Interesting.
Man, that'd be a cool Scooby-Doo episode.
Crossover? They try to take the mask off of Cujo, but they can't.
It's Fred.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting shots in this movie. Like when Dee Wallace's character, Donna, really wants to like, she wakes up with Steve and she goes in the other room to get dressed. And she's like putting her underwear on. She's getting dressed.
What you're talking
and
about.
The whole scene you're looking at, the focus is on her in the mirror. And it's kind of like, okay, you get it right there that like she's got two sides to her because it's a mirror. And just stuff like that. It's like so simple, yet so like effective.
Yeah, they also did that shot where he's like running towards the bed.
Oh, yeah.
And they go over top of him and upside down.
Yeah. And even when they shoot the scene, when the lights go down, the depth changes. It now suddenly seems longer.
Room.
Oh, did they really?
They did, yeah. They made a second set.
Wondering how they did that.
Yeah, a bigger room.
That's fun. See, then, that is money well spent. That's some fun, subtle little
and
trick.
The car stuff, they actually bought 5 of those cars because they cut pieces out of them and cut them into pieces basically to get all those shots. And there was one where they had cut the top off of it. And the director of photography, Jan, I can't remember his name either. He made his own like rig to put the camera in the car when they do that spinning one.
Oh yeah.
And he couldn't even see. Like it spun to her and then it stopped and then it spun around to Tad and stopped and then it kept spinning in circles, which I couldn't watch because I'm old and spinning makes me feel very queasy. But
I missed 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, but it was still really cool to see how they did it in the documentary.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, it's Jan de Bont.
Jan de Bont.
Really?
Who directed Speed?
Oh yeah.
And,
he's done a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he directed Speed, Twister, Speed 2, Cruise Control, The Haunting, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, and then in 2020, Boom and Topper Safari Hunters.
Yeah. So he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Very cool. I did not know that he shot this movie. Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's funny.
What's her name wins the lottery?
Yes.
Oh yeah. This family.
This
oh my God, this guy is terrible. We haven't even talked about Joe.
Oh, you think he's not nearly as bad as
I
he
know
is
in the book he's very abusive, right?
Oh my God. It's so sad. Like to the point where in the movie I was like, I don't even know if we need to see all this subplot. Like just have it about like cut the family, just have it about the guy. Because the way they go into it, it's horrible. You could even do a movie. I don't know. Maybe it really just works as the book, but there is a really great, beautiful relationship between, what is her name? All right. I know their last name is Camber. I can't remember the wife's name though. But anyways, she and her son, Brett, have a really interesting connection because he is sort of at this crossroads where he respects his father, but he loves his mother. And his mother is the one who is a decent person who has been putting up with all of this abuse. And the dad is just rotten. He is mean. There's not a good bone in his body. And the mom is trying to like sway the son to like, don't be like your dad for the love of God. And that's why she tries to get away. She like has to beg her husband, like, please let me go visit my sister. Cause she's trying to move out. and she takes the son. And that's like the whole like fucked up part there too, is like she realizes while she's gone, her husband's being like mauled to death by this dog. So like in a way it kind of Cujo kind of saves her and like gets her out of it without her having to like, you know, it's like, oh, I got away scot-free. He's dead.
Yeah.
Right. Because if he's abusive and he will find her.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's funny to kind of touch on the whole supernatural element. Brett has this weird, and you could argue that it's just sort of like, it's just a bond that he has with this dog. But it almost is because Stephen King, you know, a lot of his characters he plays with, you know, psychics and, you know, characters who have the shine. He kind of has this weird like psychic connection with his dog. Like he knows something's bad, like really bad. Like he's having straight up nightmares about like violent nightmares. And I just thought that would have been interesting to see in the movie if they had kind of like stretched it out a little bit. But this little book movie comparison.
Well, they won about $15,000 because $5,000 in 1983 would be worth about $15,000 today.
Wow.
So it's a pretty good little chunk of change.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
It's so sad though that she has to like buy him. Not only does she have to buy him this tool that he's always wanted to like be like, well, now that I got you this, I'm gonna ask you a favor. He fucking like chews her out for getting it in the first place. So it's like lose. It's just horrible.
Okay, so speaking about things that were different from the book and the movie, what is the point of the cereal campaign? Is it just like to show that like their marriage is kind of just like they're not caring about each other's stuff, and then he needs a reason to go away?
Yeah, it's a tool to get him out of the house.
Okay,
but there's also that line that the spokesman said where he's like, "Nope, nothing wrong here," and it almost kind of plays into my read of it was kind of playing into the sort of like self-made comfort of delusion.
Yeah,
where it's like we're just going to avoid the problem. And the problem is fixable, but we're going to just pretend it's fine. You know, this is a sugary cereal. Don't worry about it. It's healthy for you. It's all bullshit, you know, and we're just masking the bullshit basically.
So that's why like he's in a meeting room and they keep watching the guy do like different takes of that. Oh, nothing wrong here. And like, he's just like zoning out because he's thinking about his marriage.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong here, but there is something
Everything's wrong.
Yeah.
He has to prioritize it because of work, because it's like their livelihood. But it's the fact that he prioritizes it and disappears and all of this shit happens. And like, he didn't get the car fixed. So it's just, yes, she cheated on him. And in the book, they go into way more of like her character. It is much sadder. Like she never wanted to live in this town. They were in the city. She didn't want that. She doesn't want to be the mom. You know, she doesn't want to, or like the textbook moms, you know, she doesn't want to hang out, you know, do PTA meetings and all that. And he knows that. And he's still like kind of in a way, kind of forcing her this and not listening. So it is very much reactive. Like, yes, she is very sorry that she cheated, but it's like, dude, you're not listening to your wife. So he is sort of in the movie, which is annoying. He is sort of played as like the righteous one. But in the book, it's not that he's actively bad. He's just,
they still definitely show her in they don't show her as like a villainous like cheater either.
100%. You know what I mean? Yeah, totally. I just wish he got to take more of the blame. Even more.
You could understand it more.
Yeah.
I think that part of it too is just like with the ending, you know, it ends with them coming together. So there's all of these little things that are basically trivial compared to the fact that like you could have lost your wife and your son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the financial thing is part of it. And everybody has their fears in this movie. Like even the kid is afraid of the closet before all of that. You know what I mean? She's afraid of her affair that she's having. He's afraid of that too. Their financial situation.
But it is funny. It's like to build on that even more is like the problem with the cereal. And I don't remember if they even, because in the book, it's so graphic. Like there's a whole scene where like a kid is vomiting, like it looks like they're vomiting blood. And it's so graphic. And it's just because of the dye. And it's funny. It's like there's this one little ingredient remove that ingredient and you can fix your problem. And like with their family, it's like, just keep your family safe. Like, stop with all the bullshit. Stop making it harder than it is. Just take care of your family. And it's just like acknowledging like those little details.
Yeah.
So the first attack that Cujo has is on Gary, like the fucking slob of a friend of Joe's.
Yeah, they're just slob.
One of the many monsters. We have Gary.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got Joe. We've got Steve. Not Cujo.
Yeah, Steve is like a fucking little rapist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. In the book,
A little rapist.
he straight up goes into her house, jerks off on her bed to like dominate her, like, and to like show her husband, like, I'm like the man. It's
and
so
in the movie, he just pulled the pillows apart.
Yeah.
He left other white stuff.
It's disgusting. That was the little homage.
But yeah, like, so he is like cheating and he is like, you know, getting into like their home life and whatever. But they play him to like sort of be a somewhat decent guy early on when she's like, I want to end it. And he's like, okay, like that's your choice. Like, I understand. But then he like goes after her and you don't really see what he's doing to her at the car because like Vic just drives by real fast and then they're gone. But then, yeah, when he comes back into the house later and just basically tries to rape her. If, you know, Dad didn't come home, he definitely would have.
Yeah.
Right.
He's horrible.
Like, man, okay. Fuck you, Steve.
Fuck you, Steve.
I don't know how we got onto Steve. Oh, real monsters.
Yes.
But the attack on Gary, the first attack, is really fucking intense.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's intense. They definitely use the puppet, though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can tell.
And so Joe comes to pick up Gary, right? And
for their stripper weekend.
And he goes in and he finds Gary dead and he runs to the phone book and he's looking for a number to call, right?
Not 911?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I made special note of that.
Hates dogs.
Well, I assumed he was trying to call the police and but he's in the fucking phone book. It reminded me very specifically of a time that I was working at Cracker Barrel and I was a cashier and there was two cashiers on at the night. And it was like 8:00 in the evening and a guest came up to pay and he was very he was cursing and doing all this stuff. And my manager came out
you just had a great meal.
They started talking and the guy started cursing at my manager and whatever. And he wouldn't leave. My boss was like, you need to leave. And the guy wouldn't leave. So he looks at me, the manager looks at me and he says, Zach, call the police. So I pull out the phone book. because I'm looking for the number.
You're just
for the local police number.
And I look at the other cashier who's with me and I say, what's the number for the police? You know what I mean? And I'm looking and then come back in and my boss is like, call 911. But it's not like an emergency. Right.
You just,
and so I just wanted to
nobody's
call
hurt.
I just wanted to call the local police station.
Yeah.
But
that's okay.
Should have called 911. And
it sounds bad on paper because it's it sounds obvious, but when you put it into the context, it's it's not that obvious.
But then later on as my Cracker Barrel journey continued and I became a manager myself, I probably called 911 5 times during my years at Cracker Barrel. Yeah.
Dude, I guess at Cracker Barrel, it's a little bit more surprising. But I worked at a really, really shitty crack hotel in Erie and I called the police all the time.
Oh my God.
That's wild. There was a really cool fake out when Cujo is coming up to the car for the first time. It's a tracking shot and it goes around the car and right up to her legs, just about he's going to be in the car. And then he jumps up from the other side of the car and you're like, holy shit.
It is really good, but Cujo's stupid. The door was open on the other side, Cujo. Dude. You could have gotten them. You could have just fucking killed them.
They don't know you're there. It's like a freeze frame. What's it? I'm just like imagining he jumps up after like that whole like delay, and it's just him seeing the door, and it just like snap zooms on him with the Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's like damn, 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 and she just shuts the door on him.
That'd be funny.
I have to stop saying things that just like make me laugh in my head, because I'm like, oh wow.
Well, no, it usually makes other people laugh too.
Usually.
You're a funny guy.
In most cases, not this one. In most cases, it works.
I love when Cujo jumps on the hood of the car just to go to sleep.
Oh, love that.
Like, you're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such like
so cute.
He's like being dominant, but also just being a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dog's got a
like, there's nothing intimidating about it. He's like, all right, well, it is my house.
But speaking of Cujo being outside the car, which he is most of this movie, there are 2 times when Donna is just like straight up lioness mother, right? Specifically the end when Tad is like not responding, right? And she's like, he won't wake up. He's doing whatever. She does not even hesitate at that point. They've been in the car for like a day and a half, 2 days, whatever. She just fucking gets right out of the car and just goes right to the house. And I think that is so fucking amazing, because like you don't even see it on her character where she's like, oh my God, he's dying. But like, where's the dog? She's just like, fuck it. Like, this is it. I got to save my kid.
Because if she doesn't do something, they're going to die there.
Right. So she like, just like, there's not even a second of hesitation. She's just like, he's going to die. Out the car. I don't give a fuck about you anymore, dog. Like, here we go.
It's so good.
It's just, very impressive.
Is that after the police officer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time she gets out of the car, she doesn't see him and she starts to walk and then she looks under the car where he was at one point on the other side of the car. She could have seen him, but now he's gone and he attacks her and they get into this big fight. And then she kicks him and he goes away. And that's when I said very vocally by myself in my living room, Cujo's got nards. Kick him in the nards.
Oh, that's amazing.
He does. Definitely not fixed.
Yes.
Big old junk.
Then she gets like attacked in the car. Cujo gets in the car and he's biting the shit out of her.
Oh.
And I don't know how long rabies takes to like set into a person.
Oh yeah, she'd be dead.
Or like, is it, if something has rabies and you get bit, are you guaranteed to get rabies?
It's very well. So okay, let me see. I'm not
I
sure
don't know how
about
that
humans.
works.
With animals, absolutely.
They mentioned in the book, she's freaking out that she got bit. And that's why I stand by the fact that he doesn't have rabies.
Okay.
And I think it was just in some roundabout way, like a possession, because she like it's like a big part of that, the ending of the book where she's like really scared. Like she's like, fuck, what am I supposed to do? Like now I'm bit by a rabid dog. Like this is serious, you know? So the stakes keep building up. I kind of wish she mentioned something like that to kind of build on that a little bit more, to, you know, just for like timing, if you are going with the rabies thing. Or I guess the fact that you pointed out is like, maybe it is just obvious.
They kind of do that thing where like, I don't know if it was just the intensity of the fight between her and Cujo, or if she was like getting sick, because right after that, she like passes out. That's when it starts spinning.
Well,
and she can't see anything, and then she passes out.
Yeah,
I'm sure aside from the fact, because she would definitely have rabies. I'm not sure about like how long it would take for it to affect her, but on top of like the heat exhaustion, they're fucking dehydrated to shit. She just fought the dog. She would have passed out, I'm sure, even if he didn't bite her.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I guess that was my thing was like, does she have rabies? Like you know,
she definitely would.
She does. Okay.
Yeah.
What if the movie ended where like Thriller, where like she looks at the camera and she has rabies?
Yeah, they stopped with that happy ending because she's gonna die. They didn't want everybody to see her.
Yeah, if they didn't freeze frame it, she would have killed her husband.
Yeah, like I don't mind when movies like this just kind of end, because it's like, okay, that's the story we have to tell. It's over. Right. This one, I could have used like 5 more seconds. No, not even a hospital. It could have ended there. but just like finish the hug that they had and then like
totally
maybe start like walking down the stairs. Just like a little bit of breather between the hug and the credits.
Walking down the stairs and then maybe a pan off into the distance, not just a fucking freeze frame. I didn't like the freeze frame either.
Oh, okay. I'm okay with the freeze frame.
Or just do like 2 over the shoulder, like close-ups on both of them, just looking into each other's, like, and just like seeing each other, you know?
Yeah.
Like holding the kid, like the kids between them, they're just looking at each other. They don't have to smile. It doesn't even have to be, it can still be bittersweet. And then, and then end the movie. Cause it even ends where he's like you said, like, it's like mid hug. He's still like taking a step up the stairs.
No.
I wrote in big caps, I wrote, and scene. But her carrying Tad out of the house is like, I don't want to go as far as to say it's an iconic visual.
Yeah.
But it's very familiar and very emotional.
Yeah.
And like she just comes out of the house and the camera kind of sweeps around and it's just like, she's like, oh man, okay, that's the shot. Like that's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just says so much. Yeah.
But I do know that the book ending is different.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
So Stephen King actually said that he changed it because if he could have changed any ending to any book that he had written, it would have been Cujo. So when he changed it in the movie, it was like he was able to actually change the ending.
Okay.
Which I think it works better in the movie.
Okay.
I would have liked for it to have the book ending.
Of course you would.
But if they did the book ending, to kind of to jump back onto what we were just saying about like adding a little bit more in the end, like the book ends and then we do visit, we're living with Donna and Vic for a while, like kind of like after the fact, and they're dealing with it, and we see how they're able,
not only their marriage beforehand, but now the fact that they've lost.
Yeah. And we're seeing like the grief and how they grow and how there is the guilt of, because in the book too, it's different where like she almost like hates Tad sometimes as just like, she's just so overwhelmed about like,
well, you can see that when she screams at him.
Totally. And like when he bites her and she's like, or when there are these moments of like lashing out kind of.
Yeah.
But they really like go deep on that in the book. And in the book, there is like that sense of like, well, now I feel horrible because this thing, this object that's been in my way, her son, of like the life that I want is dead. I was not able to save him. So it's like, it's not really a release. It's not like, oh, yay, I get to do what I want to do. It's now a new journey that, you know, in this case, she has to overcome it like with her husband, but it's so complicated. You know, the movie ending is, sure, you could argue that it's just the happy ending, but it is, there's closure, you know, there's a journey. There's like, we fought this to get that instead of like, we fought this to lose more only to reflect. So I guess it's just like comes down to like what you want out of that story. But for what these characters went up against, I feel like the movie version does more justice to like what it set up. But that's just, I don't know.
But I like the tragic endings.
Yeah. To each their own.
Yeah. So that's Cujo. That's Cujo. What were some of your favorite reveals? And I would say there's a few different ones in this, different reveals to different characters of Cujo.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I was stuck on, and I feel like Danny this week because it doesn't count, but I was stuck on basically the reveal that she was having an affair.
That's fun.
That we had talked about earlier. Just
okay.
I like that.
But like we talked about where they say his name and you can just tell. Like I thought about that part in the movie for the rest of the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
I like that because like, again, whether you want to look at it from the supernatural angle or the rabies angle, like Cujo's not the monster. Like he got dealt a shitty hand. Nothing he did was like his doing. It was these other human characters who set up all these terrible, like who made these terrible decisions. They acted like children, basically.
Right.
They put themselves into this shit. Like even like you could argue like the car would have been fixed if these two humans
if they
communicated and like And like, even like Joe Chambers, like, him being just an awful person and not taking care of the dog and like little things like that. So I think that's a totally valid intro.
I'm going with it.
Not that you need my
sure.
okay.
Thank you,
I'm just like
Thank
thinking
you.
about it. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you.
My favorite reveal is in the fog with Brett.
Yes.
For me, that was the real monster reveal, because there's a cool reveal when they first take the car over to, or no, he takes his car over to Joe Chambers to get the tire fixed or something. And she gets out of the car and she talks to the wife and she turns and Cujo comes around the corner of the barn and it's like very slow motion. Very cool. Like the sun setting, and it's very neat. Which he's like bitten and he's getting to that point, but he's not really a monster yet. But I think for me, the first time we see him as a monster is in the fog with Brett.
I love that.
And it's just very cool because he just like steps out of the fog and like, he's Brett's surrounded in fog. Like you can't even see like 2 feet in front of you. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, the fire department showed up when they were filming that because they thought that there was a fire.
Really?
Oh, really?
Because there was so much
That's
smoke.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
God, the fog. That is such a pretty scene.
It is. It's
That's
really
the thing. Like you mentioned, like it was just like a pretty shot. Like the whole movie, like it's a very beautiful movie. For like, I don't know. Like you ever watch a movie and it's like, this doesn't have to look this nice.
Yeah.
And it just like looks really nice. Yeah. I wrote down 3. I'm gonna go with my last one. I thought, just for the sake of the Frank Dodd angle, I liked that scene with Tad in the beginning in the closet door.
Yeah.
I thought like the idea of like the monster in the closet was really cool. I also wrote down Cujo appearing in the fog, just because it was such a beautiful scene, and it is like that like transformation, like he's now there. But I think just for, I'm gonna just say that when Cujo attacks Donna and Tad, that shot you're mentioning, or like we're like pushing in on the open door, and then Cujo appears. It's like a great, jump scares. Everyone says like could be like cheap, but there are some really good jump scares, and I think this is one of the top like really great jump scares. Because of like how it subverts like what you're expecting to happen.
Agreed.
So yeah.
Speaking of the closet scene, I love when he wakes up in the morning and Tad has piled all the furniture and stuff in front of the door.
Like so over the top.
And the dad's like, sounds like someone was moving furniture last night. He's like, not me.
Tad's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All right. Well, now it's time for a segment that I like to call The Real Monster.
Run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. You're a monster. I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others? Eat me.
Danny, who do you got?
I have Steve for playing the trombone after sex. Just so weird. I don't know if it's a power move or isn't it?
I think it's a trombone.
Was it a trombone? Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I think that I like turned away at that part and I just saw the mouthpiece. So it could have been a trombone or a trumpet to me. I don't know.
I think it was a trombone.
But yeah, that's
just so weird. I don't know what the angle was.
Maybe they were using it for something else. I don't know.
That's true.
That one time at band camp.
Hey man, if you're not hurting people or animals,
Yep. We don't kink shame.
No, we do
No,
not.
we don't.
There was something I wanted to mention earlier that I thought it was interesting that, again, if we're going with like the supernatural angle, that Frank Dodd is
Danny,
such
let's be clear here. You're the only one going with the supernatural angle.
So with my angle.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting that Frank Dodd is such like a weak, like despicable villain for always choosing or attacking the most innocent person that he can find or creature. Like when he was alive, he would go after women when they were alone, and he would just take advantage of them and pretend he was a friend. And then in this case, he goes after a kid and like a really friendly dog. And I feel like that says so much about him as a character. He doesn't just suck because he kills them. He sucks because he just like, he's such like a punk, yeah. So Frank Dodd would be up there.
Yeah, for sure. Casey, do you want to go next?
I have two.
Okay.
My first one, the dad's name is Vic, right?
Yes, sorry.
I don't know why. No, because I knew Steve's name, but I didn't know Vic the entire movie.
Vic,
so
yeah. Vic and Donna and Tad Trenton.
So Vic, because he just drove to this mechanic and expected him to work on his car at that moment.
While he's under the car.
Yeah. How much privilege do you think that you have? You middle-aged, wealthy white man.
Oh, that's so funny.
First of all, that bothered me. Second, the saying "sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite."
Okay.
Because I think that is a terrible thing to say to your children when they're going to bed.
Yeah.
Because then you're just thinking about bed bugs. I would never have been thinking about bed bugs, Mom, if you wouldn't have said, "Don't let the fucking bed bugs bite." And now I'm itchy, even though there's no beds in this bug, no bugs in this bed.
But did you know
There's
as a
bed in
kid
this bug
what a bed bug was?
No, but now it's disgusting.
Well,
but the parents know.
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't it have something to do with like horsehair being used as like cushion?
Sure, but we don't do that anymore, Danny. We're not peasants and pilgrims that sleep in the barn.
I sleep on straight horsehair. There's not even like a...
Well, then I hope that when you and Kobe go
hair.
to bed at night, you guys say, "Don't let the bed bugs bite," and that's fine.
They have a bed bug wrangler.
It's gross.
No, that's a fair point. That's fair. I get that.
I also did not like the song that they were singing about biting a shiny honey. I also thought that was very strange. I've never heard that before.
I must have missed that one.
What?
You guys didn't hear the song that they kept singing?
No.
Who?
Donna and Trent. Donna and Tad.
What cut did you watch? You watched the shiny hiney cut.
I see your hiney. It's nice and shiny. If you don't hide it, I think I'll bite it.
My family used to sing that all the time when we were kids.
No, they didn't.
I see your hiney. It's nice and shiny. You better
They sang
hide
it like 3 times in the movie.
It. Yeah, I was threatened to get my ass chewed out all the time.
I missed all of that.
In hindsight, it's weird. I didn't think it was so weird at the time.
So yeah, that was also another weird.
Wait, Danny, I don't know if you're serious.
Oh, my family straight up sang that.
Really?
I still don't believe
that's
you.
why I swear on all things, like I swear on everything.
Okay.
I don't know what it was for, if it was like hurry up and get dressed or else I'll attack you. I don't know what the message is.
Well, it's almost as fucked up as "Don't let the bed bug."
I've got a few. I've got 5.
Oh my God. Is that's more than a few? Do you have a handful?
It is a few.
Yes,
I have a bushel. I have a bushel of real monsters.
A bushel is 9.
Is it really?
I had a bushel.
A baker's dozen.
And someone took 4.
Okay.
So I've got people who don't wash their hands after they go to the bathroom.
Oof.
Tad, I'm looking at you. You little skeezy little jerk.
You little jerk.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
You little jerk.
You gave everybody food poisoning. Because that's just really gross. Like I fucking hate it. I know some people who are just like open it. Like I don't wash my hands after I go to the bathroom. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I've seen it in public bathrooms and I'm like, wait. You, what? You just touched things.
Oh my god!
How do you not? I can't even imagine. Like, I feel like I've like.
I know.
Yeah. I have to wash my hands after touching like a table. I can't even.
Well, then you've probably got issues. But
I do have a little bit of OCD when it comes to washing hands and germs. My second real monster is Vic, the dad, for dissing our show. Straight up says, "There are no real monsters."
Oh no!
Fuck you,
this
Vic.
is so bad for press.
That's great.
You are now one of those real monsters,
Fuck
Vic.
you, Vic.
I've got school security in 1983. Vic straight up parks the car, walks across the lawn.
And just takes his kid.
He just
he wasn't at school. He was at a summer camp.
Still, someone is responsible for that child at summer camp. And now they don't tell anyone.
I mean, the security was worse at Camp Crystal Lake. Could be a lot worse. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Guys, should we do a whole mini episode about security at summer camps?
But I'm saying the dad just comes in and just says, you want to go home? And they're just like, yeah. And then he just walks across the lawn and puts him in his car.
Yeah. And
they don't say like,
this?
hey, Teach, we're going home.
Yeah.
So like, who are you? He just walks away holding his middle finger up at them as he walks away.
But I've got Steve the Rapist. Easy one. My last one is Roger. Not his partner, Roger. Roger, the mailman.
Yes.
For being so observant at his job.
Yeah. He's too good.
Because if he wouldn't have noticed that.
To a fault.
But then he would have died.
Maybe.
I can't remember if he dies in the book.
But also, why was he wearing a safari hat?
He's a mailman.
Wasn't that a thing with mailmen?
Okay, that's not a safari.
They wear safari hats. Mailman totally wears safari hats, or at least they did when we were kids.
My bad.
What an interesting choice.
You need to bone up on your mailman attire knowledge, Casey. So that's it. That's all I have for Real Monsters. Do you guys have anything else to add about Cujo in general?
Not really. I thought they did a really good job of adapting the story. Speaking of which, Stephen King is actually releasing a sequel to Cujo that he just announced recently. It's called Rattlesnakes, and it's a novella. I'm not quite sure what it's about, but I just know that it has to do with like Cujo lore and that story. So I don't know if like Frank Dodd's spirit now travels into a rattlesnake, or if a rattlesnake eats I don't know if it's like a
interesting
spiritual cousin to it. But yeah,
weird
fun fact.
Well, that's cool.
Coming soon.
Dr. Sleep got a lot of good praise. So
yeah. Yes, King does not do a lot of sequels, but when he does, I feel like they work. I did hear, I've never read Dr. Sleep. I've heard some people had some mixed reviews and that they, in some cases, actually prefer the movie. But again,
to the book?
Yeah, but teach their own. Because I know the book, when Mike Flanagan was doing it, he spoke with Stephen King and he asked, he was like, is it okay? I could be wrong. I may be getting mixed stories, but it was basically like making sure it was okay that he took elements from the Stanley Kubrick and visuals from the Stanley Kubrick movie and sort of like meshed it together with Stephen King's novel, because Stephen King kind of famously doesn't like the adaptation from Kubrick, but he was like, yeah, go for it. And I feel like that works because you can't do a sequel to The Shining, but only say you're doing it to the book, because it's just part of pop culture. Like that's how most people know of The Shining.
Yeah, the Shining, the movie, has definitely taken over
100%
the spotlight from the book.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, well, I would say that is all the time we have for Cujo.
I would agree.
Yeah. We appreciate you all listening to us ramble about rabid dogs. If you have anything else to add about Cujo, send us a tweet at I Met Your Monster, or find us on Facebook and Instagram at How I Met Your Monster. You know what? You can even send us an email. I haven't had many emails from listeners in a while, and I want to get back to that. Let's go. Yeah. Send us an email, Zach@howimetyourmonster.com, and tell us what you want to hear us talk about on the show.
Freaking do it.
Danny and Casey, where can our listeners find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at WolfMotherCasey.
And I'm on Instagram and Twitter, also at WolfMotherCasey.
Are we different people?
Yeah, we are.
Have you ever seen us in the same room?
He's at WolfMotherCasey1.
Yeah, underscore.
Stole my handle.
WolfMotherCasey.
XX_WolfMotherCasey_XX.
Yeah, those were how all of my screen names were.
No, you can find me at my name. It's at Danny Slim, DANNYSE. No, that's not true. You can find me at Danny Slim, DANNYSALEMME. That's 2 M's like the candy. Melt in your butt, not in your hands.
Wonderful.
Keeping it classy here.
And you can find me on social media at Zach Woodsick. I know you are all looking for more How I Met Your Monster content. So we're working on something special. It's not ready yet, but we're working on it. So just little teaser right there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. It's going to be great. I don't like to talk about things before they're done, but
it smells great.
It's a masterpiece.
So
you're going to want a masterpiece of this masterpiece.
That you're going to say masturbate.
You're going to want a masturbate.
You're going to want to masturbate all over this thing.
Oh, this is going to make you masturbate so hard.
And on that note, thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.
# no kink shaming.